Josephine Zucker on the anniversary of her bat mitzvah. And as we're stalling and him passing out some candy, after her Davar Torah, you'll get to choose to stay here for Musaf, or you are welcome to follow John Wills into the library after Josephine's Davar Torah. I will open it in a little bit. All right. Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Bima. Welcome back.
Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice to see so many new faces. If I don't know you, hi, my name is Josephine. I grew up here, and I've been away at college, so that's why you haven't seen me. But I live now there in DC full-time, so it's very nice to be back, even very briefly. As was mentioned, 10 years ago this week, the 50th week of the Jewish calendar, it's been 10 years since I became a bat mitzvah, and we didn't mention it earlier, about 49 years since my dad's bar mitzvah. So yasher koach, Dad. Sorry to age you. When we were first planning the date of my bat mitzvah, it was a coincidence that it happened to be the same Torah portion, Tavo, but it honestly felt like fate. Getting to share this special day with my dad felt like all the times his tallis was just long enough to reach both sides of my shoulders when it was cold during services. So very, very nice, and Memorial Day. 1 decade. I can't believe how fast time has flown by. I remember the day like it was yesterday. We were just talking about it. I was so scared to be standing here in front of so many people, but I don't need the step anymore, which is good. And looking out into the audience, I found comfort in the familiar faces of this community that embraced my family and I. From my teachers, Elizabeth Stein, who taught me how to read Torah, and the late Eli Davidson, who taught me how to argue about it, and my lifelong friends from Hebrew school who gave that arguing meaning. I should mention that before we joined CBT, I knew 3 prayers. I knew the Hatikva, the prayer to light candles, and the Shema, among some other things my dad taught me. And I also knew the phrase, I'm sure you've heard it before, Am Yisrael Chai. In the year between when we joined and my bat mitzvah, it was 1 year, I listened to all of you sing together, and I learned these ancient prayers line by line, and I started to sing along too. So I was quite literally on this bima because of you, and in case I forgot to say it that day, there was a lot going on, a very belated thank you. With your encouragement, I fulfilled one of the most beautiful commandments of the Jewish faith, which is to be granted the responsibility of carrying our collective past into the present and for the future. It's a call that resonates throughout our tradition, but especially in this week's portion, Tavo. Now, when you put aside that large amount of curses and threats against you and your offspring for just a second, when you put that aside, there's a clear directive here. Observe faithfully all the terms of this covenant, that you may succeed in all you undertake. Deuteronomy 29:8. So we just need to observe these mitzvot and we'll be happy. Seems simple enough, right? But not really. I'll come back to the curses in a second, because when I first reread this, I was deeply confused about how to interpret it, and thank goodness I'd already done that. So I went back to my old speech 10 years ago, and I found my thesis line, which was, life is made up of choices. It's up to you to decide which ones are right and which are easy. Now, I was either a know-it-all 13-year-old, or my dad wrote this speech. I wrote it, don't worry. But what I didn't know at 13 about life is that sometimes it isn't between right and easy. Sometimes there's a third option, or a fourth, or so on. Sometimes the choice is just wrong. But what I've learned in 10 years is that choices are often made for you, and how you react is the real test of character. And that's what Tavo is really talking about. At this point in the Torah, Moses is in his later years, giving his final teachings. He doesn't shy away from the reality that the Israelites will face blessings and curses in the homeland without him to guide them. And while the curses sound severe, they're not punishment just for punishment's sake. They're warnings and wake-up calls. The laws laid out in this parsha are about how to build a just, compassionate, and functional society, one where we check in with each other, one where every person, regardless of power or status, is treated with dignity. Just a few lines before, in Deuteronomy 27, we hear, "Cursed be the one who moves a neighbor's landmark. Cursed be the one who misdirects a blind person underway. Cursed be the one who subverts the rights of the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow." None of these actions are choices of overt cruelty. They just require someone to stop paying attention. It's not for no reason that God presents these warnings. Every act of forgetting has a consequence. Like we know from our physics classes, every action has its equal and opposite reaction. But the effects of not keeping God's commandments aren't just physical. And they can't be explained by the force of gravity. They are relational, communal, spiritual. When I reflect on celebrating the day I became a Jewish adult, which happens to be the same day my father did, it's no surprise that I find the connection to this portion to be about memory. Zachar in Hebrew is one of the core tenets of our faith, and this ability is what sets humanity apart from other living beings. Memory is what binds us with our family, friends, classmates, coworkers, neighbors. But in Jewish life, it's not just something we think about, it's something we do. The late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs once wrote, "To be a Jew is to be a guardian of memory." And I would agree with him. This can be interpreted throughout our history and traditions, from naming newborns after deceased loved ones, to our beautiful and lengthy argumentative texts about what the Torah really means, and even in the smallest of phrases, Am Yisrael Chai. We have the responsibility to remember and to appreciate being here, right now. And that is what it means to me to be Jewish. And that is how we build bridges to one another across generations. When we can appreciate our past, we can truly connect with our present and with our community. When I left the US to study abroad 2 years ago, I left for the whole year, and I searched desperately to find comfort in the remnants of Jewish existence in two very new places for me to live in, Morocco and Poland. Each time I learned about the rich histories of culture and prosperity that these Jewish communities experienced, I felt pride. And then I felt an overwhelming sense of grief. Both places had some of the largest populations of Jews in the world. And in the wake of mass deportations and the Holocaust in the 20th century, they were only small communities now, and they were building again. As I walked down the echoey streets of the Jewish quarters in both countries, in Moroccan Arabic it's called the Mallah, I felt like shouting to the ghosts of those who had perished, "I'm a Jew too, we are still here, Am Yisrael Chai." With each empty street came a new sense of grief, and yet I couldn't help but find gratitude for feeling that grief. Grateful that I could witness and know about and remember these communities. As I met more Jewish students studying abroad, I realized I was not the only one dealing with this reckoning of belief and hearing that call to remember. And I didn't feel alone anymore. A terrific book I recommend everyone to read is called The Amen Effect by Rabbi Sharon Brous. And it discusses, among other themes, the uniqueness of the Jewish faith's commandment to be together in both times of celebration and grief. Rabbi Brous wrote, "The deepest suffering comes not from pain, but from the feeling of being alone in it. When we forget each other, we don't just break commandments, and when we remember who we are, we can reclaim who we are meant to become. And that is what I believe Tavo is saying, and that was what my 13-year-old self struggled so much to describe. There are right and easy choices, but when those choices are made for you, the best thing to do is to listen to your parents. He didn't pay me to say that. And the next best thing is to be with your community. So that brings me back to CBT. I have to acknowledge how welcoming CBT's presence has never diminished in the years I was busy in high school and then away at college. From Purim boxes in the mail to DC and hugs when I've been back home, I have personally felt the impact of CBT's motto, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. I've compared this place to each community I have joined and every synagogue I've stepped into, from DC to New York to Marrakesh and Krakow. This place has remained a safe haven for me. But you don't become that by accident. You do that by being here for the wins, the losses, the mitzvah days, and all the random anniversaries like today. So thank you. My hope for us to take from today, as this year wraps up soon and we prepare to celebrate the new year of 5786, it's a big year, is that we continue to build a just, compassionate, and functional society for all. And in doing so, honor our pasts by remembering, celebrating, and carrying them forward together. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yasher Koach. Thank you, Josephine.